Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Hermetically Speaking, a podcast. I'm your host, Toria, and in this podcast, we will explore the world of Hermeticism, prophecy, spirituality, and the infinite universe as it presents itself to me and you. I myself am a Hermetic prophet, and am here to share my story, wisdom, and channel with you. We're all on a journey of shedding polarity and turning it into unity, changing our vibration through transmutation. This law is written in the foundation of Hermetics. The simple terminology for this is known as raising vibration, or my personal favorite, transmutation. Hermetics is the ancient, foundational, and lost teachings of this. It is the first incarnation and documented imagery of knowledge on earth. It is the constant baseline throughout every religion and civilization in the world. It is infinite. It is how civilizations, worlds, and deities ascend, utilizing the energies of Hermes Trismegistus and Thoth, as well as many other incarnations. I am honored to channel profound and ancient wisdom as it applies to my own personal journey and everything I have learned throughout, have overcome, and all the learnings of wisdom still to come. For this first episode, I am going to keep it light and love, which I will all the time, but that shadow is so very important for us to dig into as well, and we won't be avoiding it. I myself religiously utilize a heavy practice of shadow work given the state of the world and my own personal compact traumas. All right, let's pivot to Hermeticism, Hermes, Thoth, and just creation in general. The principles of creation within this demiurge, the mind within the mind of the all, or as Hermes conveys, the Father, God, are what keep this infinite universe within existence. Is there existence outside of them? Yes, but we are not there. So I like to keep the focus here because it helps us to navigate all of the assisting frequencies and how they help one another achieve holy matrimony in marrying the divine feminine and divine masculine, which is a huge upheaval we are all in, stepping into, and currently and continuously working. Principle number 1. The first principle of Hermeticism is known as the principle of mentalism, which states that all is mind. The universe is mental. This principle asserts that everything that exists in the universe, including the physical world, is a manifestation of the universal mind, or the one divine consciousness. In other words, the universe is a mental creation of the divine mind, the mind within the mind. And all things are interconnected through this mental or spiritual medium. This principle implies that the universe is not just a collection of separate physical objects, but rather a cohesive and integrated whole, governed by universal laws and principles. It also suggests that we, as human beings, have the power to shape and transform our reality through our thoughts and intentions, as our minds are an integral part of the universal mind. We are creators, meant to be, always have been, and always will be. What we're faced with now is uncovering that truth and stepping into it. The principle of mentalism highlights the importance of understanding the nature of our own minds and the role they play in creating our reality. By developing a deeper understanding of our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, we can begin to align ourselves with the universal laws and principles and manifest the life we desire. Now, you may have caught the term demiurge earlier. That is the mind that encompasses the mind we are currently in, and that is a whole rabbit hole I am still unpacking and being able to verbally explain outside of my own quote-unquote brain. I actually mean mind, but I love the way words come out sometimes. So principle number 2, the second principle of Hermeticism, is known as the principle of correspondence, which states that as above, so below, and as below, so above. This principle suggests that there is a correspondence or connection between all levels of existence, from the microcosm to the macrocosm, and that everything in the universe is interconnected and interdependent. This principle implies that the patterns and structures that we observe in the physical world are reflected in the higher realms of existence, such as the spiritual, mental, and emotional realms. It also suggests that we can gain insights into the higher realms by studying the patterns and structures of the physical world, and vice versa. The principle of correspondence highlights the importance of developing a holistic perspective on the universe and recognizing the interconnectedness of all things. By understanding the correspondence between the different levels of existence, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe, and cultivate a greater sense of harmony and balance in our lives. This is where telepathy gets really tricky, because what goes in your mind also goes on in my mind, and what goes on in my mind goes on in your mind. This is where what we currently know as projections can get very confusing in discerning and deciphering. Telepathy, all in all, is an unraveling ball of web to perceive and understand. Just know that as above, so below. As within, so without. If it's within you, it's also yours to own and process and shed. No one is responsible for putting something in your mind that you are not on the frequency to receive. Therefore, it is you and it is me until it's not vibrationally. This can also be disputed. There are plenty of perspectives to look at this aspect that I'm specifically targeting, and it would take a whole episode to talk about all of those perspectives. So we'll save that for another episode that I very much look forward to. I'll probably have a guest on for that, because being able to go back and forth and expand on those perspectives is such a good conversation. All right, so let's move on to principle number 3, my favorite number in destiny fulfillment. The third principle of Hermeticism is known as the principle of vibration, which states that nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. This principle suggests that everything in the universe, including matter, energy, and consciousness, is in a state of constant motion and vibration. This principle implies that all things in existence, seen and unseen, are forms of energy that vibrate at different frequencies. These vibrations can affect and influence our physical, mental, and emotional states, as well as the world around us. The principle of vibration highlights the significance of understanding the nature of energy and vibration, and the role they play in shaping our reality. By learning to tune our thoughts, emotions, and intentions to higher frequencies, we can raise our vibration and attract more positive experiences and outcomes into our lives. This is why my gratitude meditations are so very important. They saved my life, among some other things. But anyways, this principle also portrays how everything in the universe is connected through the medium of energy and vibration, and that we can influence and impact the world around us through our own vibrations. By cultivating positive and loving vibrations, we can contribute to the upliftment and transformation of the world around us. Shadow vibrations are the same. Vibration, like telepathy, has its paradoxes, simplisticness, and complexity to it. Ultimately, when it's all said and done, it makes perfect sense because we've all done this 1,000, million, and infinite number of times. As humans relearning, reawakening, and remembering, I go through regular phases of the to duh moments regularly. I call them God shots or divine wisdom. Principle number 4. The fourth principle of Hermeticism. It's known as the principle of polarity, which states that everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. This is where we start to see my previous comments on simplism, complexes, and paradox come together as one. This principle suggests that everything in the universe has two poles or opposite aspects, and that these poles are not separate or distinct, but rather interconnected and interdependent. For example, hot and cold are two poles of temperature, but they are not separate or distinct entities, but rather different degrees of the same thing. A very, very common example. The principle of polarity implies that all things contain within themselves the potential for their opposite, and that we can experience the full range of human emotions and experiences by moving along the spectrum between these two polarities. It also suggests that we can transcend duality and achieve a state of unity by recognizing the interdependentness and interconnectedness of all things. The principle of polarity highlights the importance of embracing both the light and the dark aspects of ourselves and the world, and recognizing that they are two sides of the same coin. By learning to integrate these polarities within ourselves, we can achieve a greater sense of balance and harmony, and experience a more fulfilling and meaningful life. I always visualize a golden ring of illumination, and it's either in front of me or on my finger. And as I twirl it around on my finger, one side moves into the shadow and the other into the light. This to me is a perfect visual concept of the way the principle of polarity works. Principle number 5. The fifth principle of Hermeticism is known as the principle of rhythm, which states that everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. This principle suggests that everything in the universe is subject to cycles of rhythm and motion, from the tides of the ocean to the cycles of the seasons. These rhythms and cycles manifest in all aspects of life, including our thoughts, emotions, and experiences. And if they ceased to exist, so would we. The principle of rhythm implies that everything in the universe is constantly moving and evolving, and that all things have a natural ebb and flow. It also suggests that these rhythms and cycles are self-correcting and self-balancing, and that they serve to maintain equilibrium and harmony in the universe. The principle of rhythm highlights the importance of embracing change and impermanence, and recognizing that everything in life is subject to cycles of growth and decay. By learning to go with the flow of these cycles and rhythms, we can achieve a greater sense of peace and balance in our lives, and navigate the challenges and obstacles that come our way with greater ease and grace. This is also where loops come in, and repeating the same life circumstances over and over again, due to being asleep and not having the awareness to understand how to process, shed, and heal the pendulum. From my understanding, a pendulum, no matter what vibration, is meant to take you on a ride. Therefore, I currently look at the ultimate achieving state as one where you can watch all of the pendulums swinging around you, in society, in others' behaviors and reactions, etc. Yet you no longer feel any urge to purchase a ticket to the roller coaster and jump on with them. Instead, you stay in your knowing where nothing is black and white and everything is beautiful in every way. This state is achievable, and the shadow to this is, of course, spiritual bypassing, which we are all consistently learning how not to do after the millennia and decades in survival mode we've lived in and are coming out of. Principle number 6. The 6th principle of Hermeticism is known as the principle of cause and effect, which states that every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. This principle suggests that everything that happens in the universe has a cause and effect relationship, and that every effect is the result of a specific cause. It also implies that all events and circumstances in our lives are subject to the laws of causation, and that nothing happens by chance or coincidence. The principle of cause and effect highlights the importance of taking responsibility for our thoughts, actions, and choices, and recognizing that we are the creators of our own reality. By understanding the laws of cause and effect, we can learn to make conscious choices and decisions that will lead to positive outcomes and experiences in our lives. This principle also suggests that there are multiple levels or planes of causation, and that events and circumstances in our lives can be influenced by factors beyond our immediate perception. By learning to expand our awareness and consciousness, we can gain a greater understanding of the underlying causes and effects that shape our reality, and learn to work with these laws to manifest our desires and aspirations, and achieve our dharmic state. This principle is very dear to me. I'll stray into personal territory briefly. When I was doing a stint in psychosis for about 5 years, yes, I just referred to it like a jail sentence for laughs, I would receive something I would call cookies, specifically chocolate chip. You know, like the well-known comment, "Do you want a cookie?" for when someone would accomplish something, whether it was sarcastic or not, which is mainly how I used it in my adult life. Anyways, psychosis and cookies. And no, my guides did not mean this in a sarcastic way, thankfully. When the psychosis would get so overwhelming and have me on the brink, which was daily and even multiple times a day, I would all of a sudden be given light to evaporate the hell-like purgatory and eradicate its despair and darkness. One of these cycles that I will never forget was during a horrific breakdown when I was a truck driver. And in the midst of it all of a sudden it came. Sweet, tender were the words. You are the daughter of karma. It was so gentle, so beautiful, so knowing and true, and I felt it all. Every word and bit of grace and beauty that came with it. It still owns me. It still invokes tears in me. It's still very much my soul. And it was immediately obvious as to why all of my life I've been able to see and read prophecy, especially and very strongly cause and effect actions and full timelines based on those cause and effect actions. Before psychosis, I didn't have the language or awareness I do now to understand it fully. I'm still certainly learning, always remaining teachable. I just would always tell myself previously and in my head who and what were receiving the negative karma or the positive karma when they were receiving it, or that they would receive it based on a certain decision that they made. And I would also know when I was receiving negative or positive karma and exactly what it was for. Cause and effect is one of the biggest lessons I learned all about from the spirit realm when I was in the deepness of psychosis. The process of elimination and how the higher self and guides utilize it to determine and keep us on our path. An example, I have a 30% chance of picking bubblegum flavor for anything. Probably less if I'm being realistic. And a 60% chance of picking strawberry. 10% chance of spicy. Now, if I picked that bubblegum, it alters completely what I've done next, or what I would have done next in the aspect of if I had chosen strawberry. Doing things out of the norm creates huge shifts, which we will get further into detail of this and its paradoxes and polarity entanglement in another future episode. It's a whole bunch of different rabbit holes to go down. My entire life is a pure example of this. Every component and moment is a story of hermetic vibration. From a beautiful loving high to a devastating losing low, and now onto a high I've never known. Well, you know what I mean, remembering. Jess and Oscar, who are at zen.lasagna on IG, and I totally recommend and love them, led me through a session where I was to be shown my freest life. And for most, it's being an animal or something. Mine was this life that I am currently living. I was brought back to it. I will be as free as I was captive. And I can tell you I was captive for a long time. Big stray from the topics at hand, though. Let's pull it back to principles of hermetics and all it entails to be. Long story short, cause and effect is my jam, and it goes hand in hand with my ability to see and utilize mystic psychology with telepathy. Follow the emotions. On to principle number 7. Seventh Heaven. Love that show. But seriously, when I see 7, I know I'm in a heavenly state of equilibrium in the current space I am in. The 7th principle of Hermeticism is known as the principle of gender, which states gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. Gender actually means generational. This principle suggests that everything in the universe, including matter, energy, and consciousness, has both masculine and feminine aspects or principles. These principles are not limited to biological sex or gender, but rather represent the fundamental duality and interdependence of all things in the universe. If we were looking at a sphere that was the polarity of the masculine and the feminine, the positive side and the negative would both hold each duality together. You would be looking at the sphere and you would be able to see masculine and gender within it, but you would never see any separation. You would see how cohesive and how one they truly are. The principle of gender implies that the masculine and feminine principles are present on all planes of existence, from the physical to the spiritual. It also suggests that these principles are not separate or distinct, but rather complementary and interdependent, and that they work together to create balance and harmony in the universe. The principle of gender highlights the importance of recognizing and embracing both the masculine and feminine aspects of ourselves and the world around us, and learning to integrate these aspects within ourselves to achieve a greater sense of wholeness and balance. By embracing both our masculine and feminine qualities, we can achieve a greater sense of authenticity and empowerment, and cultivate more meaningful and fulfilling relationships with others. This principle also suggests that by understanding and working with the masculine and feminine principles, we can learn to tap into the creative power of the universe and manifest our desires and aspirations in a more harmonious and effective way. This is a lot of what we are seeing in the world today, actually. It's just manifesting in shadowic ways because we aren't taught these foundations or really how to care for ourselves or vibration. Our emotions, our mental state, nothing. We all know the state of the world, the states of our upbringings, the state of the past and previous generations, so I don't really need to go on. What we are seeing in the world currently, though, is the manifestation of an ancient knowledge surfacing through our subconscious in ways that we can't comprehend. The ancients and wisdom, aliens, higher self, ascended masters, guides, etc., can only communicate with us in languages and understandings that we know. In this dimension is where gender exists as a duality, because in the unseen and higher dimensions, gender does not exist as we know it. Again, gender means generational and how all things are passed through. This means all things have male and female in them. I would like to take a second to throw a disclaimer out briefly. I am not saying that there is anything wrong with transsexual, transgender, or what is going on. I have been through my own very personal and significant healing journey on this subject matter and my own personal identification and experiences. At this point in time, it doesn't feel like it's appropriate to go into detail on that. Instead, I'm being guided to just focus on my stance, which is that I have no stance. I am just sharing my awareness as it's been channeled to me through the prophecy of society as we make our way to the future earth we all seek. There are people's journey and fulfillment that is through transgenderism and transsexualism. There is also a deep wave of unconscious remembering going on that is bringing the mentalism of gender to the surface. It is no coincidence that gender means generational and that we all have been both dualistic genders in a magnitude of lives, as well as we are all non-binary. I honor this in every sense. I also honor that fulfillment and accomplishing our individual dharma to then enter into unity has its own path. I understand this even more since my own journey I have already vaguely mentioned. I am never here to control how I am perceived. I am here to be authentic. This is my authenticity and what knowledge prevails me. I honor all things and what brings anyone their peace, sovereignty, and divinity. So, those are the 7 principles of Hermeticism, the foundation of creation here in the mind of the all. They provide a framework for understanding the fundamental laws and principles that govern the universe. These principles make transparent the interconnectedness and interdependence of all things in the universe and emphasize the importance of balance, harmony, and self-awareness in achieving our goals and fulfilling our potential. By understanding and applying these principles in our lives, we can cultivate greater wisdom, creativity, and empowerment, and live a more meaningful and fulfilling existence. These principles are eachly complex and interwoven, and as we awaken more and more to the beautiful web of the cosmos that reveals these and a greater and deeper understanding within them. For reference points, I'd highly recommend the Kybalion for initiatory access into the Hermeticism remembering. It can be a lot, and the book is only extremely dense, as is the Hermetica collection itself, which are stories of Hermes and Poimandres' many conversations. More enlightenment was recorded by Thoth, another incarnation of Hermes, on the Emerald Tablets. All tales for another time, though. As I listen to the Kybalion and Hermetic collection again and again at various intervals in my journey, I understand more and more through experience, telepathy, and the channel I am. It has been a pleasure to record this first episode for you. My plan is to convey Hermetic knowledge, share my own personal experiences, and maybe even share my own story one day. I just believe that will be published in a book instead of podcast form. I don't want to rush what isn't ready, and some prevalent parts of my journey are still to come. So we'll walk through this together. You can find me at hermeticcallyspeaking.com. I offer various soul journey sessions of past, future, and my favorite, galactic life regressions. I offer prophetic activation readings, those of which I call the Herkimer Diamond reading. This name stems from Hermes having an emerald for a mind, and I was shown mine being a Herkimer diamond. It is what I transmute, transport, and transform through all of the dimensions and infinite universes in this incarnation. My chosen spiritual weapon of choice, one of them. I also offer gene key pathway activation and understanding readings and Akashic wisdom readings, where we journey together into the soul of the unknown and bring back remembrance, wisdom, and ancient love untold to you before, but savored for that exact moment to enlighten and emblazon you on your pathway forward. My newest offering is the gift of prophecy, where I write your prophecy and publish it into a personalized book for yourself. It covers archetypes, fulfillment. It's a scripture poetic book filled with pages that are dedicated to you and your journey and being able to unravel your prophecy. Everything I offer is by donation based with suggested pricing based on when I was a for-profit business. I turn no client away and find more enjoyment in working with you than I do in monetary value. That's not to say don't honor me as I honor you. Just give from discernment and love and negate fear and lack. There is no amount too little or too much, and with no expectations, I get to enjoy the connection of us on this journey, as well as help you bust down some shadows, break apart loops, and dig up those beautiful magical powers you've buried so deep underneath all of that pain, distortion, and trauma. I also learn a brilliant amount from every client I get to work with. Y'all are my teachers too. I also have a Square scheduler since my website is currently being revamped. You'll see a lot of changes in the next couple of weeks on it. My email is toria@hermeticallyspeaking.com. TORIEA. And I'm on Discord, Instagram, and Facebook as Hermetically Speaking. I don't, however, get social media FOMO, so I lack in posts and following. Something I may turn my attention to as I build this verbal hosting platform. Thanks so much, and I love all of you guys. Whether you took the time or not, let's get these journeys done, feel the love, and unite as one. Good day for now, be well, and namaste.